Fellows Ride, der Podcast. Mit offenem Visier sprechen wir mit interessanten Gästen über Motorradfahren und mentale Gesundheit.
Yeah, hi fellows, good evening, good day to our Fellows Ride podcast, and very special episode. I'm very proud that we can have with us a girl on a bike talking about motorbiking and mental health. Hello, Vanessa, the girl on the bike.
Thanks for having me on.
So, Vanessa, I'm prepared. I'm prepared for the beginning. I was on your website and I found a quote, and I want to read it. It's a quote after a presentation from you, I think in a school or somewhere, and somebody wrote, "I literally struggled to hold back the tears listening to you speak. The world has thrown some shit at you, but you turned it around and threw it back. You don't let life beat you." I was so inspired every day since I think, what would Vanessa do when I feel challenged, even by the smallest thing? Thank you. You were exactly what I needed, exactly when I needed it. This is the quote. I think, okay, thank you. You obviously are exactly what we and our audience needed. So do you want to tell us your story?
Yeah, well, that's a really powerful quote. It kind of hit me then. My journey has been pretty brutal. I mean, I've had some really tough times, and that quote kind of just sent me shivers. So I'm a motorcycle rider, racer, and adventurer, and I'm big into racing, all sorts of motorbikes. I do 4x4 rally driving, and it all sounds incredibly exciting, glamorous, and amazing. I share it on my social media, but the journey to where I am today has been anything but smooth, anything but normal, and full of a lot of physical and mental pain. The reality is that I live and manage chronic pain on a daily basis, and that is all part of the journey that's brought me to where I am today. And I suppose the most important thing to mention is the accident that happened in 2014. If we go back prior to 2014, I was an adrenaline junkie, lived for sports. I was an account director in marketing, had an office job. When I wasn't in the office, I was kite surfing, wakeboarding, snowboarding, rock climbing, horse riding, cycling. I was really fit, and I was obsessed. A healthy addiction to the endorphins and the adrenaline of extreme sports. Let's just say that. All the holidays, lifestyle, friendships, my husband, everything was sports. Now, the 25th of March, 2014, very normal Tuesday. I'd been in the office all day, and I got on my bicycle to cycle home from work. I was actually going to the wakeboarding lake to meet my husband and some friends for the night, and I got about a mile down the road. A car coming the other way decided not to stop at their red light, leaving me with nowhere to go. And like that, life has only changed. So my recovery was definitely a journey. I was diagnosed and sort of released from A&E that night with bruising. The reality is I've got a reconstructed right shoulder and right hip, and I've had 7 surgeries, which pretty much worked out as 1 surgery a year for every year. So for 7 years. And it's like a roller coaster, dark, horrible, bed bound, unable to move my arm, whatever, horrible lows in the roller coaster, and then doing my rehab, getting a bit fitter, a bit more active, going up sort of the edge of the roller coaster, maybe being a bit more able, maybe being in a position where I can't do my sports, but maybe I could ride a motorcycle, and then unfortunately having to have more surgery. And every time you have to go back in and get cut back open, it's not a case of, oh, I've done it before, I know what I'm doing. It's actually the opposite. It gets harder. It gets more painful. The days get darker. The pain seems to hurt more. You're cutting open scar tissue. You're learning to walk again. And it was definitely harder and harder every time. But through that journey, motorcycles came into my life. I wasn't an active rider before the accident. And I think a lot of your listeners will probably relate to the freedom, the adventure, and the escapism, not the escapism from life, but you're in a different world when you're on a motorcycle. And so that journey of discovering motorbikes has just sort of evolved and taken over the years. I mean, I've done some of the hardest off-road motorcycle races in the world now. I literally got back from one very recently, the Morocco Desert Challenge. Two people died in that rally, just to put in context of how brutal these races are. And 7 years ago, I did my first time on an off-road motorcycle. I haven't been riding that long. A lot of people think she's been riding all her life, you know, like a schoolboy motocross boy, whatever.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
all new.
Super cool. What a story. I was, by the way, I was in Morocco as well 2 or 3 weeks ago, so we were very close. But I did it on the normal road and a bit off-road. But anyway, my question is, during your recovering, these 7 surgeries and all this stuff, the ups and downs, roller coaster, how was your mental condition? What were your thoughts during this recovery? I mean, your life changed, right? Everything changed. So
everything changed. Now, I wish I could tell you that I was strong and positive and focused through that whole journey. I really wasn't. I had a lot of really bad times and struggles. I got diagnosed with multiple mental health disorders in the aftermath, and there reached a point where I realized that I was not okay. Darker days than I think anyone should ever experience. And the way I kind of described it often was as if I was in a tunnel. And I'm not talking about one of those really fun tunnels when you're on your motorcycle with some sporty pipes and you give it a brap and it's all a bit fun, and then you come out the other side and you have a giggle with your friends. I'm talking about a really dark, black, damp tunnel where right at the end, there's a speck of light that you're riding towards, you're going towards, you're fighting towards. And every day you're trying to get towards the end of this dark, horrible tunnel to come out the other side and be on the other side of your recovery and get over this accident. And every time I had to have more surgery or there were complications, it was like that tunnel was suddenly 1 mile, 2 miles longer. And sometimes it felt like the tunnel went around a corner and I couldn't even see the light at the end anymore. And so my mental health definitely went through some pretty nasty places. I'm very grateful for a very supportive family and husband who've been around me, but I realized that I needed help that wasn't my friends or my husband. They didn't have the right skills to know how to help me process what I was going through. I had horrific night terrors for probably 5 years after the accident, where I'd wake up screaming and freaking out. And sometimes I'd have anywhere from 2 to 5 of those a night, waking up sweating, covered in adrenaline and sweat, and you then get cold, and I mean horrible. For like 5 years after the accident, I'd say. I got diagnosed with fear of the road, which doesn't lend itself to getting on a motorcycle. We can talk about that in a bit. I got diagnosed with depression, kind of a little bit obvious, and change disorder. So change disorder is quite an interesting one, because for who I was, I could no longer relate to me as me. I had changed so significantly from the Vanessa that I knew and related to. I was strong, I could kite surf, I could do pull-ups, I was fit. And now I was this broken, pathetic heap of a mess of a body that couldn't do anything. There were times where I couldn't even go to the toilet on my own. I couldn't relate to the body that I was in as me. And I actually talked about myself in the third person because, you know, Vanessa was this strong, fit, capable person from before the accident, and this wasn't me. Now, I realized I needed help, and I got help. I started having counseling and therapy sessions. Now, for anyone struggling with any kind of mental health, asking for help is the biggest sign of strength. It can be really hard to have the strength to say, you know what, I need help. But as far as I'm concerned, if you can ask for help, you are a superhero to me. And the sooner you ask for help, the easier it will be to go through that journey. So if you're struggling with anything, even if you think maybe it's small and it's insignificant and you just make it all up in your head, don't you be the judge of that. ask for help and let them be the judge of it. Let them help you through that journey. So I got help, and I also
sorry when I interrupt you.
Yeah.
What you told now, to ask for help, is more a women's thing, not this big men's thing. We men's, we have a problem with this because it's we think it's totally wrong, but sometimes we think it's a sign of weakness, to admit or to ask for help. I don't need, because I'm strong, and we are brought up, my age or my generation is boys don't cry, and so, and this is obviously it's easier for women to talk about this than for men, and so that's super that you are here as a woman and teach us. So I'm maybe I'm somebody who is now staying here or talking for a lot of means. They have issues, but they don't try, they don't admit, and they don't dare to ask. So it's so important what you said for us men. Yeah,
I think the reality is that society is waking up, and society is shifting and realizing that it's not about being a strong, always in control, okay man and an emotional female. Actually, we all have emotions. And for me, as a female who is attracted to guys, honestly, a guy that can ask for help, a guy that can cry, a guy can talk to you about the emotions is so attractive to me.
Oh, yeah.
That is a sign of being a powerful, capable man. Because you are at one with your emotions and your mind. And I think someone who closes the door and shuts it out, I don't see that as being strong and masculine.
Oh, yeah. All men in the audience, listen very carefully what you are saying. Of course, you are. Another question is, before the accident, you were stable mentally? You were very balanced?
Well, some people would debate if I've ever been stable, apparently I'm special. No, I was in a good place before the accident, for sure.
And can I ask you, did you have some kind of suicide thoughts during your recovery?
I definitely questioned how things could continue and whether I'd ever improve. I don't think I ever started planning how that could ever happen or anything like that. Thankfully, I recognized my state well before getting that far, which I'm proud of. And I mean, for anyone who's thinking about trying to get help or is listening to this just relating that maybe I should get help, the painful reality is that when you ask for help, there isn't suddenly this big red button that's like, okay, cool, we'll get you fixed.
Yeah.
It's not instant, with how complicated the human body is physically. When you need to recover, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes the right nutrition, rehab, habits, exercises. It's exactly the same with our mind, and it takes a journey and a commitment. For me, it took a lot of crying, a lot of talking, a lot of processing, a lot of shifts in my perspective, learning of new tools to help me with my mind and my thoughts. And eventually, over time, I got to a point where I learned to accept my situation. And that was the first part of just merely accepting what had happened to me and that I was where I was. Because no amount of anger at the driver, self-pity, blame on other people was going to help me. All of those emotions were toxic, negative yuck that actually comes out physically inside you, doing me no good. By accepting my situation, at least I was going, right then, okay, this has happened. I can't change it. I can't go back. No. But what can I do now to take ownership and control of my future moving forwards? And that was a really big step.
Oh, yeah, this is a really good advice. Yeah, acceptance is the first step. Yeah. And did somebody helped you with this step, acceptance, or was it you by your own?
I think going through the process of getting support and talking about it was really, really important to that. But there's the reality of the fact that actually, eventually, you need to be honest with yourself and your situation and work out what's in your control and what's not. There was no point being angry at that driver. It was an accident. It was done. It was in the past. I can't change it. Let it go. And that was a conscious mindset choice to be like, no. And every time that anger would start to come up inside me, it would be like, no, there's no point. It's negative. All it's doing is damaging me. It's not changing anything on the driver.
No.
Her situation is not going to change.
No.
All it's doing is making my situation worse because I'm choosing to dwell on the past as opposed to just moving forwards and dealing with the situation.
So now the switch. What is now? You said you changed your person, your identity, everything. You feel well with it. You can, if you compare your life now with your life before the accident. What is your opinion or judgment? Or
if I could get a teleport to go back in time to 2 minutes before the accident and stop it from happening, I wouldn't change a thing.
You wouldn't?
No.
Wow.
I'm sat here with pain. I live and manage pain. But it has taught me so much about what's important. I'm so much stronger as a person. I'm so much more grounded. I understand what's worth fighting for, crying about, getting upset over. I understand what makes me happy and brings me pleasure. It's relationships and experiences. It's not money for stuff that I don't even need. It's not materialistic stuff. And I think that the grounding of gratitude, appreciation, and just love that I have now from having been through so much trauma makes me so grateful for who I am now versus who I was then. I think I've learned so much that it's an irreversible journey that I wouldn't want to change, which is really sadistic considering, you know, what I went through, the year after year of pain. I mean, on a really bright side, the girl on a bike wouldn't even exist.
Absolutely, yeah. And your presentations, your message, your advices, your inspiration, what you are giving now, it wouldn't exist. Absolutely, absolutely. I have a similar question from myself. So, because of my son passed away, what is hard enough? He was 23. It was a suicide for parents. I think it's the most evil thing what can happen. And but now, after 9 years, with our bike, I did a round the world tour. I went through Africa. I did a lot of presentations because of depression help. We are collecting with the Fellows Rights in Germany. We are collecting donations. As I said last Saturday, 22,000 euro for project. So the question for me is, I don't want to answer it, but the question is, can I be grateful for my son?
You're changing lives.
Absolutely.
The energy that your son is bringing to the world.
And absolutely. And sometimes I feel very close to my son, closer than before, because there's a connection, you know. So I feel very fine with it, and I see what I can do, what I can. It's really, but it's cool that you are talking so honest and frankly about this, and this is. For me as well, you are a role model. I mean, everything what you're saying is super. And what is the role of the motorbike in your life?
An obsession. I've had a lot of time trying to analyze why I enjoy being on a motorbike so much, and there is a kind of a mental process to that with my pain that we can get into. But quickly before we move on, I know you just said that I'm a role model and all that kind of stuff. I just want to emphasize to people that I still have mental health battles now. I am still a normal human, and it's totally normal to have different emotions and levels in where we're at mentally, our motivation, our imposter syndrome, our level of self-hate, what we feel like when we look in the mirror, our reflections on our past, our present, our future, all that kind of stuff. And I'm human. I still have my battles with that. So I don't want anyone to look at me and think, wow, she's got it all figured out and she's grounded. I haven't. I've got some really powerful tools that I use that help me try and stay level, but I'm a human like everybody else. And so
And you're still in therapy, or you have treatments or something?
No, I don't have any therapy now. I think I've learned enough tools that I can cope with it, which is good. So I'm in a really good place. I just want to emphasize that even people in really good places can have dips and troughs, and that's normal. Yeah. Like I've been having night terrors this last week, not big ones, little ones. Since I got back from Morocco, I've been having nightmares every night about being stuck in the desert.
Really?
And like the freak out of that. I mean, there was a moment in Morocco where I wasn't sure I was going to make it to the end of the day. I was riding for my life. And, you know, there's a lot of trauma and stress that goes into that. I had a race last year where I ended up having to have a night in the sand dunes of a campfire, waiting to be rescued, which isn't romantic, by the way. It's terrifying. Another day where I had a very close death experience with the heat and hydration. I got helicoptered out. And so that kind of post-event stress, yes, I still decide to put myself on the start line at these races, but they still have an impact, and I still have to like battle the trauma and the mindset following those things.
So my thoughts when I followed you on Facebook and Instagram on this Sahara rally, my thoughts were, why is she doing this after the accident, after the recovery? Why is she going into a new risk, you know? And so the why, you can answer the why. Why are you doing this?
I definitely can. I think once you have been stuck in bed,
okay.
When you are no longer stuck in bed, my goodness, you want to make the most of every day. Tomorrow, I have no idea what could happen. Next week, next month. So I want to be sure that every day that I'm getting up and getting out of that bed and I'm coping with the body that I'm in, I'm trying to make the most of it, be the better version of myself, push myself outside my comfort zone, grow, all of those things. And by putting myself on the start line of these races, my goodness, it scares me. They're terrifying, they're brutal, they're physically and mentally incredibly hard, that kind of endurance. So this last race was 8 days, 2,500 kilometers. It's a lot of time on a bike, a lot of time on your own in the desert. In 52 degrees was the peak riding.
Fucking hot. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
Good word.
Yeah.
Really hot. And what I've realized is that when I'm on a motorbike, especially in that kind of racing environment where you've got really complicated navigation, difficult terrain, long days, you're fighting to keep the bike upright, to keep pace, you're trying not to get lost, you are physically and mentally at near your max the whole time. Like, it is survival and totally all consuming. And when I'm in that environment, I don't have the mental capacity for anything else. For the pain in my body, for the what's happened to me, for what's going on in the future, I am alive in that moment. And that's an incredible feeling. When I get off the bike, my pain will hit me like a freight train, and I cannot do these rallies without a relatively terrifying amount of painkillers. And I'm okay with that. I've accepted that. I know that if I didn't push and try and do stuff, I've always been an adrenaline junkie, my mental health would be diabolical. And me sat at home on the sofa giving up would be far more painful than the painful pain that I get putting myself out there in these extreme races. Yes, my body is at higher risk if I fall off because it's reconstructed. But again, I've accepted that risk. I work on what I can to control that risk, such as always wearing the right equipment, working on my skills so that I'm less likely to have big crashes, those kinds of things. But I'm still, if I have an accident out there on a motorbike, I'll be making the most of that day.
And what is your partner saying to this? What are your parents or your? I mean, it's a bit selfish, isn't it?
So he rides motorbikes as well, and he really very much enjoys motorcycles as well. He's not into the road book and the desert stuff. He's never done that, and I guess selfish could be a word when it comes to the desert races. They are dangerous. He sat back here in England watching a dot on a map hopefully moving. And when that dot doesn't move, he has no information until it moves, or until a bivouac medic calls him to say that they've got me, which happened that day with a helicopter in Tunisia. And you know what? He has awful weeks when I'm away, but he knows how much it means to me, how much I get out of it, how much I enjoy it, how alive I am doing it. He knows that I'm as sensible as I can be. I'm grounded at knowing my limits of when to quit and say, you know what, actually, I need to stop. And he has to let me be me, I suppose.
That's
it's
right.
difficult. It's not easy for him when I'm doing the races, and I know that.
I think so. But is this adrenaline shot the only the dominant motivation you have, or are there other motives? For example, for me, I'm not a motorbiker traveling. I'm a traveler on a motorbike. So a motorbike is only the vehicle for traveling, get known cultures, people, countries, landscapes. So I'm totally the opposite. I'm not a racer. I don't like it. I more enjoy really to cruise through a wonderful, beautiful countryside. And so is it just the adrenaline shot who pushed you, or is there more?
I do a lot of adventure riding as well. I've ridden in 28 countries in the last few years, so I do a lot that's not racing, and I do definitely enjoy that. I suppose there's a brutal element of the pain and the satisfaction of racing, where when you're in the race, a lot of the time you're not enjoying it. It's really hard, but when you get to the finish line, that satisfaction of having fought so hard to be there is really addictive. And I think that's a big driver of proving to myself that I still can.
Yeah. Well, so let's come to the technical things. Which bikes do you ride or prefer or something?
So there's 9 in the garage.
9.
Two of them are my husband's. So I'm quite fortunate in that when I travel, I'll often hire and use different bikes. So I do get to ride a lot of different bikes. My most recent Morocco rally I did on a full KTM 450 rally replica. So a full like Dakar style rally bike, which is the best bike I've ever ridden in my life. Like, he's my dream. Absolutely incredible. I've got a hard enduro bike, so a little 250 Husqvarna 2-stroke. I've got a trials bike, which is really for the technique and the skill training. I've got a big adventure bike. I've got a Harley Davidson Cruiser Thug, who's sort of my original. So the different bikes for different types of riding.
Yeah. Charlie Bowman said for any mood or for any feeling, you need a bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And you are supported by the industry?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I work and get involved with quite a few different brands and get to ride bikes, etc. and stuff, which is incredible. Yeah.
I think the industry is interested to get more women's on the bike, right?
Yeah.
But still, it's the men's world, huh? When we have these fellows rides, 80% of the people or the riders are men, and still.
Yeah, it's definitely improving, and I hope every time I share myself as a female out there doing things on bikes, particularly off-road in the more technical terrain, hopefully every time I do that, a girl somewhere will see it and go, maybe I can do that too. And that journey starts. If you look at the number of female riders out there now to 3 years ago, I definitely feel like there's an increase, and it's just about normalizing females being on bikes, which is an exciting journey, which I think we're on. But we need it to be faster.
Can you give an advice for women to get on a bike, especially the thing they are afraid? I think a lot of people in general are afraid going on the bike, especially the women, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But can you give an advice in this direction?
So my advice would be the same for male or female. And that is to just get rid of the ego. Stop worrying about what other people think.
Yeah.
And get on your bike and go have a good time. The whole time you're enjoying it, it doesn't matter how much of a Bambi you feel like. It doesn't matter if you drop it. It doesn't matter if you stall or stumble or any of those things. As long as you're out there having fun, who cares? Because the key thing is to remember that every single person... Oh, sorry. Case. I got two dogs we didn't put a kill. Case. My husband just opened the front door. Case. Sorry. So the important thing to remember is that every single person out there on a motorbike was a beginner once.
Oh, really?
We all know what it's like to not have confidence and be wobbly. So it's just get rid of the ego of worrying about what other people think and just go be you. Do you.
Absolutely, yeah. That's it. Go on the bike and go. That's the only advice you can do. Absolutely. Yeah. The world is so beautiful. And the vehicle, motorbike is the best thing to explore. And be very close to the people, and absolutely. Yeah. I don't know any bicycle. Yes, bicycle is nice, but it's not that fast and quick than a motorbike. Hiking is too slow. Motorbiking is too far from the reality. Sometimes I think my visor is like a cinema, like a movie. You can so motorbiking is very special. I like it very much. Yeah.
Well, if I think about the countries that I've been to solely from the motivation of going there to explore and ride on a motorcycle, and the places in those countries that I've gone to because I'm on a motorcycle, it's incredible.
Yeah.
The people you meet, you pull up somewhere and you've instantly got people to connect with just from the common grounds of motorcycles.
That's right, yeah.
Conversation starter.
Yeah, but especially as a woman. So, for example, going to the Islamic countries, Muslims, Iran, something like this. I don't know if you have been there. What is about the security? Did you feel safe as a woman?
I recently did a rally in Qatar. The second time I've done a rally there, and I have previously been to Dubai a few times, but not riding. That was in my previous world. Qatar is probably the safest feeling country I've ever been to. As a female, as a person, I don't know whether it's because they cut people's hands off if they do something wrong or if they steal. I don't know. That, but it was an incredibly safe place. As a female, Western female, you need to be modest. You need to respect the cultures. You don't need to be head to toe covered, but you want to be modest in that kind of situation. I felt incredibly safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cool. Hey, what's your next plans? So I'm very curious now. The Dakar rally, or what is it?
So the Dakar one is an interesting one for me because it's the sort of the pinnacle of rallies supposedly, but I think I really like trying to inspire and encourage other people for what's out there and what they can do. And for 99% of people, the Dakar isn't achievable because it's just so expensive. You've got to be like in the club, you've got to qualify and do multiple rallies beforehand, and then there's loads of road. So I love the idea of it, but I don't at the same time. The Africa Eco Race is the one that's got my eye for my next big challenge. So that's effectively an equivalent. It's a 14-day moving bivouac, ridiculous distances across North Africa, full road book, sleeping in a tent. And I think that's the one I'm going to set my goals on, trying to make the start line. And then once I've made the start line, I'll try and make the middle line, and then I'll try and make the finish line.
That's cool. Eco means economical, or what does it mean?
I don't know. I'm not sure what the branding is there. African race. Might have to look into that. Because I don't think there's anything eco about racing combustion engines through the desert.
Yeah, it's strange. So is it your full-time job, or you have another job, or this is full-time, right? Yeah,
this is full-time, and there's a lot of involvement in making it possible. Like, my friends joke that I have the dream life, but none of them would want to do what I do, which is kind of a weird one to be told by your friends, but I work a lot and long hours, but I enjoy it. And
especially social media. I mean, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to videos, interviews, and postings and everything.
Yeah.
So by the way, I saw your website, and I can recommend everybody go to the website, see the stories, the movies, the videos, and the stories there. It's super impressive. Then you are on Instagram and Facebook, right?
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. All as the girl on the bike. Or
the
Vanessa
girl on the bike.
Yeah. Search either, you'll find me, and my inbox is always open. So say hi.
Yeah, and I just answered your question. I don't know where you said if somebody has a podcast, please give me a sign. And so you are really inviting people to get in contact with you, and I think you are inviting people for asking you questions about mental health, about everything. You're very open for this, so this is a great thing, and maybe as well with presentations and all this stuff. I saw you have been in schools and everywhere, so it's I admire you for this, because it's a really big deal. It's a really big deal. Talking saves lives, concerning mental health. So all the best for you. The last thing is, I told you that we are organizing fellows rides, so-called motorcycle demonstration. We demonstrate for mental health, depression help in Germany, in Austria, in Romania, and in Portugal, in Lisbon this year, in 14 cities. And actually, we are all a lot of time thinking, what's about the UK? We can organize, for example, Wales. Maybe Nick Sanders can join us or something. Wales is a beautiful country for motorbiking. So if you have any idea, or if you do know some people who say, oh, let's try and organize a fellows ride there, raising awareness for mental health and collecting a bit money, donations for some projects, would be fine. Any support? On the 3rd of June, we are in Berlin, in the capital of Germany. Of course, you are invited wherever you want to. And thank you very much, girl on the bike, to be here with us. And actually, you gave a lot of advices. You gave confidence. You inspired people. And please, a question to the audience: if you have any comments, questions, write us. Give us the comments.
Yeah,
and absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much. I hope we keep in touch. Fingers crossed for you and your life, for your exciting life. I have to admit, you would be too demanding for me as a partner. But this is not a question, obviously. Yeah, obviously. But I understand, and I can follow you why you are doing this, and this is it's good for you. So, and
thank you.
Thank you very much for your story, for your openness, for your advice and inspiring. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank
All
you
the best.
so much for having me on.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Das war Fellows Ride, der Podcast mit interessanten Gästen, Motorradfahren, mentaler Gesundheit und offenem Visier.